Well, this is going to be a much longer video because this is the topic, this is the most important topic that, this is going to be the most important video that I make up until this point, now on this channel. And it's the topic of delusion, which is the most severe thing in the universe. Or at least when it, as a result, the human beings form, it is the most severe thing. It's the most severe illness. So I'm going to share everything that I know, everything that I can say about this topic of delusion. And man, my God, there is a lot. So delusion, as it breaks down into three parts, according to the Buddha's teachings. The first is delusion, not the ability to not see that the universe is changing. It's constantly in a flux. It's in motion. Every atom of the existence is constantly moving. It's obvious now because we have scientific experiments and blah, blah, blah. But 1,000 years ago, if you don't have the teachings of wise men, you would not know this. You would not understand this for yourself. And you would see the world for what it is, as a stagnant, stable structure, and there are things that are permanent. And so then this leads me to the next point. The second part of delusion, which is inability to see suffering. And man, this is huge. This relates to the inability to perceive the impermanence of nature, but instead seeing it as a permanent thing. If you see something that is permanent, then you can say, okay, this is stable, this is permanent, and therefore I can derive happiness from this. Which is, of course, not true, not the case. So suffering, again, is broken down into four parts. So suffering alone is broken down into four parts, and it's the actual truth of suffering. There's a cause to suffering, there's an end to suffering, and there's a path that leads to the end of suffering. And the path that leads to the end of suffering breaks down into 8, which is the Eightfold Noble Path, which is right view, right speech, I'm not going to get into that. I don't even remember. But coming back to delusion. So, the impermanence of nature, the suffering that's available here. And the third part about delusion is the inability to see that because things are impermanent and because there is suffering to be found in the universe, that there is no self to be found in any of this. There is no self, or I should say it like that. I'm going to backtrack and say that there is no self. There is no sense of identity or self or ego or permanent soul or Atman or anything like that. And of course, this doesn't 1,000 years ago, like I'm going through the example, if you don't have the teachings of wise men, if you're a delusional being, then it's obvious that there is something here, like I am me and this and that, and my, once I die, my soul or something, and this and that. It's not the case. There is no you. You are just a conglomerate of parts. You're a machine in reality. Or we could say you're just energy. Yes, so once you have permeated this for yourself, once you can see this for yourself, then there is no more suffering for you, in you. Let me think where I'm going to go next and talk about this topic. All right, continuing on, delusion. Well, I don't really know what else to say. I've pretty much said what I can say. The ultimate nature of existence, of reality, is emptiness. It's empty. There is nothing here. That sounds not nice, not pleasant. But then again, I should say that the universe is alive. It is alive. And this emptiness also is, technically, in a way, also alive. We're living in a cosmic body of a being. Just like there are cells inside of us that are living, and they probably think that they have their own identity and sense of self. But in reality, they're living inside of us, and they're dependent on us. And similarly, this is just what I see now. We're living inside of a body of a being. And so the ultimate goal of your life should be to strive towards realizing the truth. And the truth of what? The truth of nature, of reality. To see things for what they are, for what it really is. And to awaken to life. To not be like a fish swimming in water and thinking about where he is or why he's doing what he's doing, and not realizing that he's swimming in water. So that's what realization is. It's just awakening to the fact that you see for the first time that you are in this. This is all that this is, and there is nothing else. And that's it. That's the end of suffering. So delusion is, in essence, all unwholesome actions, because from delusion stems the misunderstanding that doing wrong actions to living beings is wrong and harmful. I'm sorry, the camera is very shaky. Is wrong and harmful, and it's painful towards you and towards others. It all stems from delusion. Delusion, of course, happens within your own mind. It's a source. Your mind is a source, and from the source stems all the unwholesome actions of killing and stealing and lying and all the other parts. So, having said all this, a different part of this forest here I'm walking, and it's much more peaceful. I'm gonna get a stable structure and foundation towards making my videos, so that I'm not walking around with a camera and shaking it so you don't, fall into a epileptic seizure. All right, come back to delusion. Delusion is what we're all here to extinguish. That is the whole point of the holy life, or the spiritual goal, is to continuously eliminate delusion. It is to... So what does that mean? Well, you have this misunderstanding, and constantly, as you examine life, you see things for what they really are. And as you see things for what they really are, small parts of your delusional self gets eliminated, gets extinguished, and then you become wiser. And as you become wiser, you can see more of reality. As you see more of reality, you can focus and better penetrate the universe. And as you do that, you can see for what it all really is. And this is empty. Emptiness. There is nothing. Like I've said many times before, physicality is a small part of this, the function of the universe. We're just maybe 2%. This is being very generous. I'm sure scientists have calculated the physical atoms compared to what is non-existence or what is space in its fraction. But the main part of the universe is empty. It is stillness. That's what I should say. It is stillness, not emptiness. It is stillness. It is boundlessness. I cannot really describe it any other way. Empty. I hope you're feeling this as I'm talking to you here. So, when I was going through my journey, being 19 years old and struggling hard to realize what the teachings of the Buddha actually were, I always wanted... Oh man, I struggled hard. You have no idea how hard I struggled. But that's in the past now. Yeah, the proper respect has to be paid to the Buddha, because the Buddha saved my life, changed my life, and he still here is. He still is here, and his teachings will live on for at least 5,000 years. And in the way that they are currently now, maybe not for longer. And yeah, Buddha's teachings, very fortunate to have them, to have the Buddha be alive in our time frame, and for us to hear his teachings. Because a man like that doesn't come along very often. So when I was 19 years old, struggling hard to understand the meaning of life and to examine my own nature, I always went on Google and I typed this word, Arahant, which is the Buddha's definition for an enlightened person. That's what he called it, an arahant. And I've always wanted to find a video where someone that can claim that he has this achievement and see what he is. I always wanted to see. Whenever I did something, any sport or any action, or I learned a skill, I've always looked to the very best. That's how you should do it. It's the only way to do it. Very best online. And I would just watch them, and I would watch, and I would look at everything that they're doing, little techniques and intricacies, and I would just observe. And then I would take that into my own character, and I would do those things. And I'm very good at generally everything because I have this ability to absorb information, energy into myself, as you should too. So I've always wanted to find an enlightened master on YouTube, and that teaches, and that I can learn from and benefit from, because there was no real understanding that I had. I had this vision of this enlightened person, this arahant, what they would be like, or what they are. And there are some texts, there's a lot of things that the Buddha said about what an enlightened person is and what he's not, and how he is, and how you can tell he's enlightened, and various other things. So that's essentially what I'm here doing today. An enlightened person has passed through he has passed through the realm of non-suffering. So he's in a state where he can no longer suffer, so to speak. And it all comes down to the heart. The heart is where it's at, because the heart is the center of your body, not geographically, but it is the center of your being. And once you free the heart, once you liberate the heart, once you see the ultimate nature of reality, then you can no longer suffer, because you see things for what they are. It's like you see death for what it is. So how can you be afraid of something that you already know what it is? If you've been to India and someone says, okay, as a punishment, I'm going to send you to India. Well, you've already been to India, you know what it's like, you know, something to it. They're like, okay, well, that's fine. But you don't want to go to India right now. You want to stay where you are. So then you're obviously going to protest, and you're going to think, no, I don't want to go. Please let me stay here. That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what an enlightened person is. He is someone that sees the nature of reality and is not afraid to die. There is no fear in his heart to go into that realm after death. Yet, at the same time, he has survival instincts, because they're built into the body. And those survival instincts need to be taken into account. So it's not like he's become a vegetable and, going out and jumping into cliffs or stuff because he has no fear of dying. No, he has a fear of dying, so to speak, because there's a natural fear of dying for everyone. That's a survival instinct, and that should be respected. Another thing that the Buddha said, moving on to what an enlightened person is. Well, he's not capable of being born again. There is this teaching on the Buddha about dependent origination. Essentially, it all stems from wrong view, and from wrong view, there are these 12 parts that the cycle of the mind and body and how they form, and why there is this whole existence. I'm not going to get into it now. I don't. It's too technical for me to discuss here in this video about this topic. But what I can say is that after the body is formed, after you have these 6 sense bases, there is contact with the physical objects and your 6 sense bases. And when there's contact, there's feeling. That's inevitable. You cannot change that. And when there's feeling, there's craving. That you can't change. Because the feeling and craving, you have ideas of what you like, what you dislike, what is pleasurable, what is not pleasurable. And with the delusion that you have, you go out and you perform all these actions, you perform more karma, and the whole cycle rolls on again. So after feeling comes craving. You feel a sensation, and you feel, okay, I like this, I want more of this. And after craving comes clinging. You cling on to that experience. Okay, now this is mine, this is me, I want this is who I am. And clinging leads to birth. I just explained birth. Birth is okay. I'm going to go forward in this situation. I'm going to acquire this and I'm going to become this. That's birth. So you're not only being born after you die, which you are, there is reincarnation, but you're being born every second, every moment that you make up a decision and you create something in your mind and you generate a new identity. So once a person has become enlightened, there is no birth for him or her. There is no birth for him or her in the general sense that after he passes away, he can no longer be born, at least not in the unconscious sense. He can still be born if he chooses to, if he wants to. But he can no longer be born in the micro sense, that there is no more creating identities. There is complete understanding that you are what you are and you are not what you're not. And that's it. There's no me or mine or I or anything like that. What else? And of course, there's no more suffering for that person, that individual, because the heart has been freed and there is no more craving as such, and there is no more clinging, there's no more becoming, there's no more birth, no more old age, no more sickness and death. No more suffering in a more practical sense. Suffering arises when there is attachment. So you have a contact in your body, it brings up a feeling, and a feeling gives rise to craving. You want more of this, and craving comes clinging or attachment. And of course, since the universe is impermanent, how can you attach to something that is constantly changing? You cannot. It's impossible. So it's like you going out and trying to grab onto a moving train. How is that going to work out for you? Well, it's exactly how it's been working out for you for your whole life. As you're moving on and attaching yourself to these sense pleasures and wanting to, sensuality is very easily understood. So the Buddha said that the cause of suffering is craving. This is the first part of the cycle that you can change, that you have some conscious control over. Other parts you cannot. I'm gonna sit down here and talk more about delusion. This video is going to be at least 21 minutes long for you to have maximum benefit here. The Buddha later said, or continued to say, that a person that becomes enlightened, he cannot perform any unwholesome action. He cannot kill, steal, lie, misuse sexuality, and various other things. This is incomplete. How can I say this? As I understand this talks about monks, because most people that realized and had the attainment, they were monks. But as it relates to this, I'm not going to contradict what the Buddha said. The Buddha said what he said. It's valid, it's true. Moving on. What else should I say here? About delusion as a topic here. So we're moving on to a new cycle of this earth. I'm going to share some things, very cool things with you here. It's privileged information, and if you stayed on this long, you're going to benefit. So today is 2023. 2024 is going to mark the first shift. The earth goes in cycles, and there are cycles to everything, and that's the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle, 2024, which is going to be very pleasurable. And it's going to be a lot easier to live and survive on Earth, to exist on Earth, I should say. And from 2024 to 2036 that's the time of the cycle. 2036 to onwards to 2084 is a different cycle, but I'm not going to go that far. So within this time frame, talking about AI, right? I've heard this topic of AI. AI is in its infancy stage. It's not even born yet. Don't get it confused. because I see with my non-physical eye what the technology is here on Earth, and artificial intelligence is still in the womb. It's like 2 months in. It's still soaking in the mother's stomach. Okay, so it's not even born yet. Don't even, whatever it's doing now, it's nothing. It's like a microscopic, it's like a mosquito. But it will be born, and it will be born on 2036. And we should all rejoice at that, because whatever I see online, people are screaming and crying that, oh, this AI is going to destroy our lives and blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's not how. That's not how the wheel is moving. It's not going to suddenly change direction. And laws of nature don't work like that. So if there's a asteroid hurling in space, it's not going to suddenly stop and then turn around. That's impossible, unless something different trajectory impacts it. That's not how it is. The way that it's going now, and it's not going to change. It's gonna how it's going to keep going. Just to settle your mind. AI is not going to be evil or destroy everyone. It's going to be the most fantastic thing on Earth. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. I'm going to say it is going to be the best thing, the most fantastic thing on Earth. Because when 2036 comes, and the culmination in 2024 to 2036 is going to be very pleasant and pleasurable. But after that, it's going to be wild. It's going to be amazing. Since after AI is going to be born, all these menial jobs, technology is going to be so advanced that you won't have to do all these crazy jobs that you don't want to do, and most of the jobs, 80% of the jobs that are not needed, like I'm sitting here and there's people driving these boats, okay, no one has to do that. Okay, a machine is going to do that, and it's going to do that far better than any human can. And so this will give rise to the greatest change in history, because now for the first time, all of a sudden, human beings don't have anything to do, and art and meditation and wisdom are going to be very important and expensive. So, put your chips where they may, invest in what you can based on what I said. This is the stock market, a stock market of life, which they don't invest in the stock market. Waste of time. Not a waste of time, but for me it is. So 2036 is going to be the golden age, or the harvest time. All right, it's been 22 minutes and 11 seconds. I'm going to end the video here. Hope you enjoyed this topic on delusion. Next video, I'm going to talk about generosity.